Whether you're buying or selling your home, get the benefit of expertise.
Hey, well, compliments to the show. You're really hitting on the subjects and you're telling the truth. I appreciate you.
Meet the team at dangemus.com. And now, filling in for Dan Gemus, your host, Joyce Blackmere.
Welcome back, everyone. Happy Sunday. I'm Joyce Blackmere, Director of Sales and Broker with the Dan Gemus Real Estate Team, filling in for Dan this weekend. I have Cassie Baggio, sales rep with the team, with me in studio. Hi, Cassie.
Hi, darling.
And on the line, we have the super dedicated Patrice Surette from Goldmar Property Management joining us. Patrice is on vacation, but she she's hardcore. Let me tell you.
She must love us, Patrice.
Right? Hi, Patrice. How are you?
Good.
Hey,
how are
girl.
you?
Awesome.
Hey,
awesome. So you're going to talk to us today about some bylaw infractions.
Yeah, I just thought, just for interest of the listeners, just different bylaw infractions that we get in property management, but the same can apply because the city doesn't know necessarily if it's a rental versus a homeowner, right? So the bylaws do actually apply the same way. So just some interesting ones, that we get a lot. We get some about litter, right? So if you see a house with a yellow notice taped to the door, right? That's usually about litter. So if a bylaw officer, and they're all complaint driven, which I don't think a lot of people know. So if you get one of those or you see your neighbor, you can call in the city, and they respond, they're reactive to complaints. So they don't drive around, like the mistake is that they think the city drive around looking for infractions. They don't. It's all complaint driven. So you'll get them for your grass is too long, right? So the city has a standard that they expect property owners to keep their grass cut to, right? It can't exceed a certain height. The weeds have to be kept under control. Litter, like you can't have bags. If your garbage doesn't get picked up at the curb, you cannot leave it out there. You can't dump a couch out there. So it's all in order to keep the city looking as clean as possible, right? People that live with an alley in the back, those are notorious, right? Unfortunately, people drive down an alley and they'll dump a couch or a mattress. And the really unfortunate thing is, and we see this a lot, is, people will do that. And as far as the city's concerned, it's your property, right? It got dumped there. It's now yours to deal with. And it's super important. We have one, we had a trailer. Somebody dumped a derelict trailer in the back of one of our properties. And the owner's like, why should I have to get rid of that? And it doesn't have any tires. We can't just tow it. A tow truck company won't tow it without an ownership. So now it's going to cost us $500 to get a flatbed truck in there to take it. $500 to get rid of something that isn't ours. But you have to, as a property owner, you are responsible for getting rid of it. So, so just things like that as we get them, we're learning, right? Because I said, why do we have to deal with it? It's not ours, right? But most of the time it's grass, snow removal. We can get them, right, if we're not maintaining the snow or if a homeowner's not shoveling the city sidewalk. And a lot of people don't realize, like you do your own driveway, your walkway, but if you have a city sidewalk in front of your home, you're responsible for snow clearing for that section of sidewalk as well.
Yeah,
and that's a good tip for sure. Office. Yep. So you'll see that. I mean, fortunately, Windsor's good. We don't get a lot of bad weather, but we do get those infractions. But again, most of ours are, or trees. A lot of them we're getting right now are trees where those tree limbs are growing over the neighbor's property, right? Or the tree is dead, right? And it's a risk that it's going to come down in a windstorm. So we get infractions, and we just had one over in Walkerville, and you guys know how big some of those trees are in the back of Walkerville neighborhood.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, yeah.
And, and the tree was actually diseased, and it was at risk of falling. And the neighbor had called because it was such a big tree. It would have probably taken out 3 houses. Like the canopy of that was so big. But that was just, it was about a $15,000 removal. Oh. That's how big that tree was.
Goodness.
Yeah.
Yeah, you don't think of trees too often.
No. Yeah, and the homeowner had to actually take it down because it was just such a risk of, and again, that the homeowners around it, of course, right? Because we get bad storms. So that was something, the city was just, it was a complaint, came in through the city. And I mean, the city is good though, right? You get a notice, you have about 7 days, but on the bottom of any of those, there's always the bylaw officer with the phone number. And they're really good. Like that one example of the trailer, I had to call him. I said, there's no way we can do this in 7 days. Like, we don't know who the owner is. Like, I didn't even know how to get rid of it, right? So certainly the big tree. I mean, that took a couple quotes. It took a long time to schedule. And the city's good as long as they know you're taking some action, right? You can't ignore it because 7 days from then they're going to come back, right? And then you're going to get into another part where they'll give you another warning and there's an administrative fee. And
right.
if you keep
and it's
doing
not like
it,
we have a million arborists to cut down
Right?
trees in Windsor,
Right.
Essex
So
either,
they
right? And they're
understand.
already super
they,
busy.
Yeah, they just want to make contact and make sure that you're aware, and then we just, so they can put in their files, right, that the owner is looking into it. Or the case of the trailer, I was saying that, I said to them, can I have an extension because the reason that trailer is there is because of this tenant who's being evicted. I need more time so that I can see that eviction through because the problem will leave with that, and then we'll clean up the whole property, right? So they're good as long as you communicate with them. But then, they're also ones that have repeat offenders, right? So if they're constantly writing you a notice about your grass not being cut, things like that, eventually you start to get a repeat offender fine, and it's $225. So,
Wow.
yeah, so for owners or for homeowners, you think that you don't want to pay to have someone cut your grass when you're away, right? Say you go on vacation. It's far less to pay somebody to cut your grass than it's going to be if you get a fine from the city because they'll come and do it. But it's going to cost a lot more than $35 or $40, right? So
Yeah, no,
that's
that's good. Now, if you have, Patrice, if you have it in your lease that say it's the landlord or the tenant's responsibility to clear the snow or mow the lawn and the whoever's responsibility it is, they don't live up to their end of the bargain and the town gets notified. How does that work typically when they get charged by the town for doing the work?
Yeah, the city will always charge the owner. The city doesn't get involved in the details of who rents it and what the lease says. They don't care. So it'll go to the owner, right? So the notice will go to the owner. I can reach out if it's a rental property and the owner will give it to me, and then I can reach out to them on their behalf. But they don't care if it's a rental or not. So we would have to react and we have to do what they're saying, pick up the garbage or cut the grass, etc. What happens in the background then is we would then refer to the lease and we say, okay, well, that was the tenant's responsibility. So the cost would ultimately be paid by the owner. But in that case, we could charge the tenant back for that because it is in their lease. It's their responsibility. So any costs incurred by the owner could be put back on the tenant because the lease states they're supposed to do it, right? So responsibility is the tenant. However, to the city, in their eyes, the responsibility is the homeowner. Right? You can imagine them trying to muddle through leases and it's
for sure,
versus, right?
Yeah.
So they don't care. It just goes right to the owner. But then, we can figure that out whether we need to build a tenant or not, right? So a lot of times, and it's that they go away for holidays. Like tenants still go away, but the tenant doesn't think, I should get someone to cut my grass for me because in a week, and our grass grows fast here, like very fast, right? So a week is if they don't cut it right before they leave. Good chance in that week it's going to be over the length. So in that case, we could come in and do it, or we'll tell the tenant if they're home they can go do it, and try and avoid the cost. But ultimately we have to do it because it's far less. Again, that $35-$40 to cut it, far less than the infraction is going to be from the city.
For sure. And I mean, at the end of the day, we all want to live in a nice area, a nice community. The homes around us should be maintained. So.
Yeah, and I think we've all seen them, right? The yellow notices taped with red tape on a front door.
Oh, yeah.
And you can see the grass is 10 feet tall, right? Or you can see the couch that's been on the curb for 3 weeks, and it doesn't look nice for anybody, right? And it's just attracting a bad element. Or garbage bags that people have left on the front, not in a can. Like in Windsor, we have to have it in a container with a lid. You can't leave loose bags, right?
Well, and it's
because the animals tear it
right?
up. Exactly, right?
Yeah,
and that's what they're trying to do is not, even if it's up against your house, it can't be loose garbage because your neighbor's going to call in and say, we have rats. Of course you do. Right?
Yeah.
And then the city has to pay for a rat treatment, right? So they're trying to avoid that. It just
spirals out of control.
Yep. Or, you've got windows boarded up. You're not allowed to have your windows boarded up for, like we do it if we have to evict somebody. And, we've boarded up properties, but we have a limited amount of time before the city comes and says, okay, that's enough, right? Because it can't look abandoned either, right? So, it's I just thought because we've been getting a lot of these, obviously this summer we get a lot more, right? But the misunderstanding a lot of times is that they think the city just drive around and look for things to It's not true, right?
Right,
So
right.
somebody's complained. If it's gotten to that point, somebody's complained about your property and something
Yeah.
about it. Yeah. So, and it's good
Great.
for other people to know also, you call 311, you can report somebody as well, right? If you're having a problem with a neighbor or having a problem with somebody in the neighborhood that's doing that and causing problems or leaving the couches out front, then you can call the city as well, and that's the same process. They will then
Yeah.
go and attend the property. Yep. So it's
Perfect.
a little, solution. Yep.
Great.
Yep.
Patrice, if people have questions about property management or they want to reach out to you for any variety of questions regarding landlord and tenancy, how can they reach you?
You can call the office, 519-252-5010, or you can send an email to info@goldmar.ca.
Awesome. Patrice, thank you so much
You're welcome,
for
guys.
making time for us
Of
while you're
course.
on vacation.
No
We need to
problem.
go to, finish
No, I
up.
said
What?
no problem. Okay, bye.
Oh, we need to go to a quick break. When we come back, we're going to give away a gift card for the Richmond Popcorn Company. Caller number what, Cassie?
5.
Caller number 5, 519-792-2559. 519-792 CKLW. Caller number 5 will win a gift card for the Richmond Popcorn Company. There's still more to come right here on the Dan Gemus Real Estate Show.